Hey guys, today we're reviewing the 2025 Hyundai Tucson. It is their best-selling vehicle and it has been refreshed for 2025. Now I actually have driven this vehicle already in the hybrid form when I went out to do the media drive in California earlier this year, or should I say was it late last year. Anyways, this is the non-hybrid version and I'm going to tell you if it's as good as the hybrid. Should you be buying the hybrid? Should you be looking at a plug-in hybrid? Should you be looking at the competition? Make sure to stay to the end because we're going to look at deals for this Hyundai in my area, and we're also going to put it on my spreadsheet compared to all the cars I've driven so far in 2025 and where it ranks. Underneath the hood of the Hyundai Tucson, this is the base engine option, even though this is a limited model coming in at over $41,000. But this base engine, not meaning the hybrid or the plug-in hybrid, is a 2.5 liter Smart Stream engine, has direct injection and multi-port fuel injection. It has 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque, mated to an 8-speed automatic. You can get it in front-wheel drive. This limited H-Track, of course, is all-wheel drive. I'm getting over 25 miles per gallon with my driving, but with the hybrid, you should be able to get at least 10 miles per gallon above that. Now the hybrid, while it is more expensive, it is standard all-wheel drive, that's a part of it, but it does give you significantly more power and torque. We have 231 horsepower from the standard hybrid with a 1.6 liter turbo, and then you also have about 258 pound-feet of torque, 80 more pound-feet of torque than this base engine option. You also have the plug-in hybrid, which has the same 258 pound-feet of torque as the standard hybrid, but that gives you more power, around 260 so horsepower, about 30 more than the standard hybrid, but it also adds a lot of weight to give you that 30 or so mile of electric range that it offers. Now with the refresh, we expect updated styling, and that happens here with the 2025 Tucson hybrid or not. We have 4 daytime running lights now. Previously it was 5, and there are more vertical styling additions to this grille. This limited has the fanciest headlights and daytime running lights, and it also has a 360 camera and parking sensors on the front and the back. New for 2025 also are some new wheel designs. These are 19s, which is the same size as the pre-refresh. Do they look better than the old limited wheels? I don't know, but it's good to have something new. And from the side on 2025, it should look almost identical. Maybe blacked out roof rails might be something new, but honestly, you're going to recognize this more than any other crossover in its segment because of its strong lines that flow forward. They're supposed to mimic, or they were inspired by, a galloping horse with the legs coming forward. Is this the next Mustang? Now they also revised the bottom portion of the bumper here for 2025. They've made the windshield wiper actually a little bit longer here, and this is a luxury feature. The Lexus RX, for example, has a windshield wiper that tucks up underneath the rear spoiler, which makes a really clean rear glass area. You don't have a windshield wiper tacked on the back, all right? It nicely swoops down. I love how the Hyundai emblem is actually built into the rear glass here. You have to reach quite a ways down to get into the cargo area, which features about 40 cubic feet of space. I can fold the seats down back here. I also have a 12 volt for 180 watt, and look how tall this is. I'm 6'1" with the Berks. I might be pushing 6'2", and tons of headroom here, tons of cargo space. They fold down 60/40 in the back seat. We have a nice skid plate here to welcome you with the Tucson lettering. I do have heated outboard seats on this limited model. Headroom is fantastic. Legroom is fantastic. I have vents back here. I also have USB-Cs, and this seat does have multiple levels of reclining. So very, very upright. Another setting, another setting. That's 4 settings. That's crazy. This Limit also gives you a big panel sunroof. Inside we have a much updated interior, and this is one of the big reasons I'd be going for this model compared to an older model. Climate control, the screens, everything's been reworked here for the better. Previously, in the models I tested anyways, everything from volume to climate control, I think it was like all touch capacitive. Now a small portion is touch capacitive, but you still have big knobs here for climate control. You have 3 settings for auto. You have ventilated seats right here, which is a feature on this limited trim. We have dual 12-inch screens. I think base here is a 4-inch screen, but this 12-inch screen might be standard. Might have to fact check myself, which has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto wireless, as you can see here. Absolutely beautiful. And I can easily get back into my base software by pressing these hard touch buttons right here. Absolutely love the setup in here. The dash has been reworked, so we have actually some storage space here, which is very reminiscent of the Hyundai Santa Fe when that got redesigned in the past year or two. All right, paddle shifters here. This top of the line has also an eyeball sensor for forward collision stuff. I could care less for that. But I do have rain sensing wipers on this Limited. I have a head-up display, like I mentioned, the panel roof. I have the Bose sound system in here, and honestly, it's not that great of a Bose system. The bass is okay, but like the highs and the mids are a bit harsh for my ears, but it does get fairly loud, and I think most people will be perfectly happy with it. The volume knobs right here, right off of the steering wheel, right off the climate control, and amazingly they even included a tuning knob, which I'm super happy about. We don't have the Hyundai logo anymore on the steering wheel. It's abbreviated through Morse code. 4 dots is H. Also, there's a fingerprint scanner here that wasn't included last time on the Limited model, so I could care less also for that. But they have reworked this center area, so we have USB-Cs down here, which is great. Also a 12 volt 180 watt ambient lighting down here. You also have lots of storage underneath, and the phone chargers right here, it works really well, or at least it charges my phone to about 70%. Maybe I can demo that for you guys. My phone's already at 61%, but it should get it to about 70, and that's typically when it turns off because it gets too hot through my case. But I have these you know, LED lights. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, letting me know very visibly that my phone is charging. Auto brake hold is memory. You also have center locking diff. You have different drive modes, which we'll talk more about here in a bit. We have a 360 camera on this top of the line grade, like I mentioned a second ago, with predictive lines. We also have a drive select as a stock now here on the steering column, which I'm a huge fan of. You see this in the Ioniq model, see it in the Santa Fe, for example. This is great because it allowed Hyundai to free up all this extra space that I mentioned previously. And overall, I'm happy with the comfort, the intuitive controls in here, the visibility, and since I'm happy in here when the vehicle's sitting, am I going to be happy when I'm driving? Well, let's start driving to find out. We also have a pre-refresh XRT in front of us. It's got the roof racks, it's got kind of all-terrain tires and more aggressive wheel garnishes, if I remember. Yeah, or like the overarches, just a little bit more aggressive. We're going to go to sport mode here. We're not going to torque brake it, we're just going to go. We're going to do a 0 to 60 on this. The engine's fairly smooth. That was a 10.1 second 0 to 60. Let's get out of sport mode here, because you heard that it really likes to hang onto the gears. So 10.17 seconds to 60, no torque brake, and also a 10.6 seconds 0 to 100 kilometers. That's kind of real world performance, not torque braking, not doing anything crazy there. Yeah, it's really slow. And what makes matters worse is like the transmission is programmed really lazily. I'm not saying that the engineers programmed it lazily. They did it probably for emissions regulations or fuel economy reasons. It's just, you got to stomp this pedal almost all the way down for this 8-speed auto to downshift and start going. And that's something I really miss from the hybrid models, is just the 80 pound-feet of torque advantage that they have, and then also that better advantage at the top end too, with about 50 more horsepower. It is extremely night and day. Like, you can absolutely tell the difference, and you get way more power, torque, plus the big fuel economy gain. You'll be lucky to crack 30 miles per gallon on this. And you know, I've been doing mainly city driving and have not been that kind to this engine, meaning I've been trying to squeeze every horsepower I can out of it, which it needs to work really hard to do that. All right, and I'm at sea level, so I can't imagine having this or owning a Tucson at elevation with how anemic this 2.5 liter is. All right, now ride quality in here is quite good. I also have blind spot view monitor. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but I turned it off because that Jeep thought I was going to turn into its lane. But yeah, that's a cool feature that Hyundai is one of the few, if not only one, to do blind spot view monitor, which is only available on this limited trim. And I did fail to mention that this limited trim also has 2 memory seats settings for the driver here. I have no issues with the brakes in this vehicle. The handling is good enough. I guess I'll throw it in the turn here. Here we go, come on. Come on, Nissan. Throwing it in. Yeah, I feel like I have good grip, and I have a good connection of what's happening with the front tires, okay? Like I mentioned, the ride quality is pretty decent in here. Some of the minor stuff, every once in a while, you can feel it through the floor and through the pedals, but honestly, it's not a luxury vehicle, so I'm not expecting elite levels of NVH, but it is quite good here. And there is a bit of a learning curve with this shifter, honestly. Sometimes I put it forward when I mean to put it in reverse. I twist it forward. I don't know why I do that. It's definitely user error, but honestly, if you twist it forward, that's drive. If you twist it backwards, that's reversed. It makes sense, but for some reason in my human fallibleness that I put it in the wrong thing. But it's okay, because that only happens when I'm stopped. It's not that big of a deal, but it might throw some people off. If I do it, I can't be the only one who accidentally puts it into reverse when I mean drive. You know, it's just not quite as intuitive in some way. Like, it is intuitive, it's just there's a learning curve, and sometimes I just botch it. I have really comfortable armrests here. You know, the Honda CR-V that I drove recently that's also been refreshed, paper thin driver's side armrest, and that's something I've been focusing on in my reviews. Even the Land Cruiser this week had a really thin armrest. That's just unacceptable. The center one's really solid here as well. Again, there's nothing there. There's just no power to this thing. And then the paddle shifters are kind of comical. Yes, I feel like they make the experience actually worse. I don't know. It's bad. Okay, I want way more torque out of this setup. I want way more power. 187 horsepower never felt so meager before. And yeah, the torque really is lacking majorly here. And then also the transmission. Like, I could just talk about it all day because I'm just not satisfied with this powertrain. And the problem is I've driven exclusively the hybrids and the plug-in hybrids, which have great response, great torque, great top end, great fuel economy. And I wish the hybrids were offered in front-wheel drive to maximize the fuel economy. They're not offered that in our market. This is it says LT1. There's an LT1 badge here on the back of this Corvette. I'm not a big Corvette guy, so let me know if that, oh my God, I can't even keep up with like an 85 Corvette or whatever that is. It's just so slow. And I cannot recommend the Tucson non-hybrid, all right? So with that being said, you might be saying, Kirk, that's awfully harsh. I don't recommend the CR-V non-hybrid. And that's turbo. That has more get up and go to this, but that is a CVT that kind of ruins the experience for me. It's loud like this is. That CR-V is less underpowered with the CVT turbo combination compared to this. This is just really almost like Subaru levels. It is Subaru levels of just lethargy. And it's almost, I think a CVT would actually be better suited here to this engine to maximize its power. I know that might be crazy, and I can't believe I'm saying this. The Nissan Rogue that I drove this year, I don't like that powertrain, but I think this might be slightly worse. At least that has torque from that VC turbo 3-cylinder. At least it has torque. I have no top end, I have no bottom end, and the automatic here is pretty doggy. All right, so hybrid only. So let's get in the office. Let's look for Tucsons. Really only looking at hybrids because it is so much of a better experience overall. Like, it's quieter, smoother, better powertrain, like more power, better fuel economy. It's just better in every conceivable way. You might be saying, Kirk, maybe not for maintenance. I get that, but I cannot honestly, and I have no enjoyment driving this car. I have all these niceties in this limited trim, but it all means nothing when I'm struggling to keep up with this Camry hybrid here unless I have my foot completely buried. All right, and that Camry hybrid's held up by a big box truck. It's not even sufficient to keep up with everyday traffic. All right, I'm done roasting this. Let's get in the office and let's look for Tucson hybrids, because that's a really, really good vehicle and a fantastic powertrain. All right, time to look in my area for some Tucsons. The limited, I mean, shoot, let's narrow it down to the limited. I do like the features of it quite a bit. Are we going to see some big price drops on the limited model? All right, we are. Look, mine was 41 or so thousand. We're already seeing a $4,000 price drop on the Tucson Limited. I would still not buy it for 36,000. You can put as much lipstick on this pig of a powertrain if you want, but I would be getting probably an SE or an SEL on the Tucson if you're going to be getting this powertrain. Otherwise, if you're going to be spending that much, get the vastly superior powertrain of the hybrid. Look, you can get these things for $26K. Yeah, around 20, like 30K is probably the most I would want to spend on a Tucson if it has this powertrain 8-speed auto with this naturally aspirated engine. But what about the Tucson? Are we seeing Tucson hybrids come down in price? Well, if you look, there are 2,200 gas models in my area, so you'll be able to get whatever deal you want, essentially, if you want to settle with this non-hybrid. But if you want a Tucson and you want the best driving experience possible, the best fuel economy, the best power, the best responsiveness, you go for the hybrid here. And look, you can get them for a little over $30,000 in the blue trim. All right, I would take a hybrid blue base hybrid over the full limited non-hybrid. It's just not even competitive, that powertrain that I drove today, sadly. All right, so yeah, like any of these options, let's see here. Let's look at what a limited hybrid's going for. Look, it's going for just like a couple grand more over the non-hybrid. It's absolutely worth it. All right, I rest my case there. Just get the hybrid Tucson if you're looking at a Tucson. Unless you're spending less than $30,000, then you can live with that sort of bargain basement powertrain. But if you just want naturally aspirated, this is a way better setup. You can get a turbo here if you want on the CX-5, but the naturally aspirated gives you a little bit more horsepower, but it gives you a much snappier 6-speed auto compared to 8-speed today. And it is a more enjoyable driving experience. It handles better. The materials in the inside, I would say, are better. So yeah, the CX-5, night and day difference with the powertrain and overall execution of a vehicle over the Tucson. All right, the Tucson has better tech. It has it just has better tech. All right, I'll end it there. But the CX-5 does just about everything better from a driver's perspective. If you are also looking at hybrids of the Tucson, what can you get here for lowest price hybrid RAV4? This is also a good deal. About the same price as a blue Tucson. Toyotas typically are a little bit more reliable, but I have seen really old Sonata hybrids that are still going with tons of miles. All right, so I really wouldn't worry about that too much. All right, so RAV4 is really good, but the Tucson, I would say, has a better interior than the RAV4. It also handles better, the Tucson, than the RAV4. The CR-V is fantastic. It just can get kind of pricey. I'm looking at the lowest price CR-V hybrids right now, and they're about $33,000, $34,000, still discounted. I would be picking this over, it'd be tough. It depends on the deal I can get, but I would say it's equally as good as the Tucson. It doesn't have all the features of the Tucson. That's Honda's downfall. You're not going to get ventilated seats. You're not going to head-up display. You're not going to get panel roof. All right, so it's feature stripped in comparison, even at the highest sport touring level compared to the Hyundai. All right, so where do I put? Well, I'm reviewing the gas model today. Gosh, unfortunately. All right, fortunately that I know now, and I can give you guys better advice. All right, yeah, bold style, great interior. It handles well enough. It brakes okay. Powertrain's just so bad. For the love of God, get the hybrid. That's where I stand with the Hyundai Tucson. And where does it fall? Well, it's definitely not Take My Money. It's definitely not A tier. I would probably say the Tucson hybrid falls into A tier, at the very least B tier, but probably A tier. This, though,
It's not good. I'm gonna nestle it right next to the Rogue Rock Creek. The tech is better in the Hyundai. The Nissan actually has, I think, maybe slightly better fuel economy. Maybe. I don't know. They're both not good. They're both not good. That's why it's a fire sale only. All right. Fire sale only for the Tucson gas. Tucson hybrid, you can still get discounts on them. If you're looking at Tucson, get the hybrid and you're going to be much happier every time you just accelerate, which is all the time. You're accelerating all the time in a vehicle. You want it to be a decent experience, and it's not even a decent experience with this 8-speed auto, all right, and the gas. Get the hybrid, or look at something like a Mazda if you want naturally aspirated, because the RAV4 is going full hybrid. The CR-V, I can't recommend the turbo, like I mentioned, which has a CVT. Just get the hybrid on that. There's so many other vehicles. It's way better. It's a way better vehicle than the Terrain Denali that I drove, and that was turboed. So that thing was a piece of junk. This is not, it doesn't feel like a piece of junk. It feels like it's well built, the Tucson. It feels like this engine should be in like a Versa, or I guess what would the Hyundai equivalent be? A Hyundai Accent, rest in peace. It's just not, it's not good enough for this size of vehicle. It needs way more torque, way more power. And that's why the hybrid exists. You can get great deals on the hybrid. So I'll see you guys in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree on my assessments of the Tucson in the naturally aspirated base powertrain. Leaves much to be desired, and it can be all remedied by just getting the hybrid model. I'll see you guys in the comments. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more Hyundai reviews. By the way, I'm leaving next week to drive the new Palisade. And yes, that does have a hybrid. And it will be the hybrid Palisade will be available later this year, but I'll be driving the turbo model with the 8-speed. So I'm excited for that. So I'll see you guys in the comments. Have a great day. Peace.